Me, Myself, and I, episode number 30.
Whenever you're knocked down, how do you turn that into something useful?
If you think about it, you're almost like a psychologist in a way.
Sometimes in life, things can come across as rather odd or often peculiar, a little like the way that you decide to tune into other radio stations other than ours.
Wishful thinking, been dreaming, it's my time to shine. Wanting, waiting, been hoping for a girl like you to know. I wanna get the girls I couldn't get before. I wanna be in a band, make that music. I wanna be in a band, get those groupies. I wanna be in a band, smoke those dudes. I wanna be in a band.
If you enjoyed that introduction song, head on over to iTunes and pick it up. That's I Wanna Be in a Band by Lovestruck Robot off their debut album, I Wanna Be in a Band. You can download the entire album there, as well as their new single, Smoke Show. For more information, please visit lovestruckrobot.com.
All right, we're recording.
Very nice. Me, Myself, and I, episode number 30. I'm joined today by Mr. Brian R. King. Brian is an inspirational speaker and author of not one, not two, but 5 books, a resilience coach, and the rest I'm going to let Brian tell you because he's got a tremendous story of overcoming an obscene amount of obstacles with such care and grace. Brian, thanks so much for coming on the show today, man.
Wow, thanks for the introduction, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for being here with me on Me, Myself, and I. So,
it's an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. So, Brian, I laid the foundation. Why don't you fill in the gaps a little bit? Tell me a little bit about your story and everything that's brought you here to today on Me, Myself, and I, episode number 30.
Yeah, sure thing. I grew up with undiagnosed ADHD and dyslexia. My graduation present from high school was stage 3 testicular cancer. So I'm 27 years out from that. I'm the father of 3 special needs children. They all have ADHD and Asperger's, which is a form of autism. And I became a single father when my now ex-wife left us for greener pastures, which turned out to be not so green. Mm-hmm. And kind of had to rebuild my life from that. I've since remarried very happily, 6 years now. And about a year and a half ago, I was diagnosed with a very debilitating connective tissue disorder, which is degenerative, it's genetic, and there's no cure for it. So what that essentially means is that my joints and my muscles are in pain to some degree every single day. My ligaments and tendons don't repair themselves well. So my knees, my shoulders, a lot of joints are becoming more slack and tend to slip out of place. Just kind of doing the ordinary stuff throughout the day. So that's just one more thing. And as it turns out, my younger 2 boys have inherited it from me.
So that's a hereditary disease?
Yeah. And nothing you can do about it. Wow. Just kind of grin and bear it. And one thing that I guess kind of inherited from my parents is some kind of inbred stubbornness. This refusal to give up. Because I see my dad, who's 75 years old, and he doesn't stop. I mean, I saw him working. Right, both my folks were entrepreneurs. I saw my dad putting in 15-hour days, and he was adamant that he was going to do the best job possible. He was not going to slack off.
God bless him.
And I always saw that. So with all my different struggles, I guess there was a part of me that just didn't accept giving up as an option. It's just something that wasn't done. So I learned from a very young age, you got to be resourceful. You got to stay at it. You've got to find a way to push through it and move on. And
absolutely.
with everything life has thrown at me, yeah, some of these hits took a lot longer to get back up from, but I was still committed to do it. So here I am now. I got my master's degree in social work about 12 years ago. And about 8 years ago, when I became a single father, I said, I can't keep working 15-hour days in an office. I got 3 boys to raise. So that's when I switched over to coaching, because I could do things over Skype. I could do things over the phone. I could reach a national and now a global audience through these technologies. Mm-hmm. And so I transitioned over to coaching, and it's a match made in heaven. I absolutely love it. It allows me to be creative. It allows me to serve more people. And I'm able to pass on the lessons that I've learned about how to really just bounce forward no matter what life hits you with.
Absolutely. That's tremendous. I could not imagine the value and resources that you provide your clients. I'm looking into, you've got a program that's going to be starting in February. Is that right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read some about that. I'm a young guy, but I'm at a turning point in my life. I have my first child. I'm on the verge of a big career change on my 9 to 5. And I'm definitely probably going to be looking up your services very soon. So I'll be expecting my call.
I'm looking forward to it, man.
That'd be totally awesome. I got your book. I'm waiting for it to come. I ordered off Amazon, so I can't wait to get into that. I couldn't decide. I actually consulted you on which one to get first because I read the synopsis, and they all sound so great. So I'm looking forward to getting into that and, becoming more resilient. And that's exactly what you teach. All these obstacles and trials and tribulations over your life, you've turned that into a career, and you're out there, and despite your circumstances, are helping people in ways that they otherwise weren't able to help themselves. And that's truly commendable commitment to people, my friend. I don't know if I had it in me, to be honest.
Well, the reality is, what really just sets me apart from most people is that I did the work. When you're in some situations, like going through the chemotherapy, I can still think of it like it was yesterday. And I remember how depressed I got, how I felt suicidal at times, how I felt completely helpless and hopeless. And the only way to get out of there was you had to see it for what it was. You can only bullshit yourself so much before you realize, all right, it's time to do the work. I got to go there. And because I've been in those depths before, when I work with my clients, they can tell that I'm somebody that gets it and that I'm going to respect their vulnerability, that I'm going to hold it with care and hold that space for them because I've been there. Because one of the struggles they have is nobody understands, over people telling them, oh, they're making too much of it. They just need to get over it. The people that tell them that are the people that are afraid of their own emotions. They want it to be little because if it's bigger, it frightens them too. So when they come to somebody like me, I get it. And I say, when you're ready to go in there and do the work, I will take you by the hand and we'll do it together. And that makes a huge difference.
Wow. Yeah, I can't, of all the coaching services that I've seen and the motivational speakers that I've heard, I can't honestly say that that they offer a service similar to yours by any stretch of the imagination. So that's what makes you just so unique and such a sought after coach. And I hope more people after hearing this this episode with you here will reach out to you and, get some resilience for themselves, because that's a trait that you can't it just doesn't come out of thin air. It's something that you have to work with and work for a vast majority of your life, as you did. And, one question I just came to me right before we got on here was, does coaching take an emotional toll on you? Because if you think about it, you're almost like a psychologist in a way. You're taking in all these emotions of others and having to process these thoughts and to be able to help them using their their obstacles and their challenges that they've had. So in your experience, what does that do to you, and how do you find that balance?
That's a very interesting question. The long and short of it is that I don't take it on. Now, my responsibility as a coach is to point them in the right direction. It's like when you think of a coach on the sidelines and you have the players on the field, they're the ones out there taking the hits. They're the ones executing. I'm the one saying, if you'd like a different result, I have a suggestion for you. Why don't you try this play? And they go back in the field and they do it again. So I can maintain that boundary and realize that it's not my job to share your pain in order to help you work through that pain. And that's what's important. I've got my own stuff. I don't need their stuff too, nor does it help me maintain my objectivity if I feel that I need to take on their pain in order to help them. That doesn't do either of us a service. In fact, by my maintaining that sense of groundedness and that sense of focus, that lets them know that even though they're out there on the ocean, there's a safe harbor that's keeping an eye on them.
Okay. Man, I love that analogy.
So, and that's important because you don't need two people out there treading water, struggling and making each other drown, right?
Oh, man, you just, I gotta soak that one in for a second. I love it. I love that. I love that so much. I'm gonna have that quote, and I'm sure a lot more in the show notes for people, along with all of your contact information, so they can get a hold of you.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man, definitely appreciate you and all the great work you're doing. Along the way, there had to have been some resources. It could be books, maybe scriptures, websites, other coaches. Who would you say along the way helped you to overcome your obstacles? What resources possibly could you recommend to the listeners that they could look into?
Oh, it's endless. And I'm glad this is being recorded so people can take notes. You want to read anything by Wayne Dyer, okay? You want to read A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. You want to read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And then there are those people throughout my life, those mentors, those everyday folks that are a little bit further down the road than you are, who believe enough in you to take you by the hand and say, I can see you doing more than you're doing. Let me help you. And that can be neighbors. It can be relatives. It can be a teacher. I've had so many throughout the years, and I have some now. You and I are both parts of some really amazing Facebook groups that have some very generous folks in them that are willing to give their pearls of wisdom that have taken them decades to accumulate. And they're like, here, I can't help everybody in the world. So I've got to teach other people how they can do it so that more people can be helped. And that's really what a community of coaches is about. It's helping everybody become better at what it is we want to do. So the mentors are all over the place. And to keep it real simple, a mentor is anybody that's getting results that you want to duplicate. So you can look upon them and say, man, I got to find out how that person does that. And it might be one aspect of their lives, or it might be the entirety of how they do a business. But finding that person you can model so that you can get to the next level, that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. So those people, with those little gems of wisdom and stuff, it's almost elusive if you go and look for it. They're all around us, Yeah,
and you don't spot them until you decide what you want.
That's cool.
You have to be very, very clear on what results you want. Then all of a sudden, bam, these people just start showing up.
Wow. That's so good to know. I hope a lot of people can grasp that concept, because they just look for something, so hard, and they get so down on themselves because they think they're doing something wrong, but maybe it's the greater picture that they're not looking at. They want to take all the blame on themselves, and it's just a matter of opening your eyes to Um,
Well, one thing
something different.
one thing I can inject here is there's a fundamental difference between the employee mindset and the entrepreneur mindset. The employee is used to being told what to do. So it's very difficult to form your own sense of what do you want to create moving forward in life when up until now it's always been someone else's decision. But when you decide that you want to take on your own venture, you want to create your own outcomes, then you're not waiting to be told what to do anymore. Now you're choosing yourself. And you're saying, this is what I want to create. And once you make that decision, then you start looking for mentors. But when you feel like the direction of your life is out of your hands, you don't look for anybody except the next person to tell you what to do. So there's
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, a huge difference in that mindset.
Mm-hmm. See, that's kind of the transition point I'm in my life, actually, because I just recently took on a role of leadership at my job. So I've been trying to find that balance, that work balance, where I'm no longer the worker bee, and I have other people that now need me. So I've kind of had to step out of that. I'm just going to get all my work done and do a great job, and that's going to be the end of it. I have to guide all these other people, and it's something I've never done before to this extent. So it's a very big transition in my life, and this point right now, if I don't do this well, I will not receive the promotion and the great things that I have coming in me. So that's I can, on a personal level, right now I can comprehend everything that you're saying. And I know there's other people out there that can too, definitely relate to all of these topics that we spoke about so far.
So you need to learn how to step into being a leader.
Yes, absolutely. I do.
Yeah. When we're done with this broadcast, you and I will have a talk. That's something I can definitely help you with.
That sounds great. Tell me a little bit about the podcast. I understand you're a podcaster too. I've listened to your show, and tell me what's going on a little bit about that. And you're on iTunes and everything else. So
yeah,
what's new with the podcast?
I host my podcast through a medium called Blab. It's like an online talk show. It's fantastic. And the name of my podcast is Turn Failure into Fuel. And what it essentially boils down to is whenever you're knocked down, how do you turn that into something useful? How do you find the lesson no matter how hard it is? There are people that say, well, you never fail and if you've learned something from it. And that's a wonderful sentiment. But there are some hits that are harder to bounce back from. And a lot of what I want to put out there in my show and what I do put out there are people that have had failed businesses. They had to keep businesses running in the middle of a bitter divorce. They're single parents. They've had to deal with illness, and yet they have a certain belief set, a certain skill set that allows them to just keep going forward. And I love putting those stories on front and center so the rest of the people who are looking to move forward in life realize that it can be done.
Okay. My internet crapped out a little bit towards the end of what you were saying right there, so I do apologize for that.
No, I think it's still recorded. I can repeat it if you want me to.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my video off, and hopefully that'll save some bandwidth.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing.
All right, that might help. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
No, it happens. So do you want me to repeat what I said?
Yeah, about that last sentence there.
What was the last thing you heard me say?
Last couple of sentences. Wait.
I can still see your video.
Okay, yeah. Hold on. There it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Hey, can you remember the last thing you heard me say?
It was, I'm trying to soak all this in. It's so good. Okay, Blab. Use Blab. That was probably about the last thing you're telling me about your show. And using that medium to connect with your audience.
Okay. And what I said after that is I use my show to showcase people that have that entrepreneurial spirit, who are able to push through divorces, family illnesses, being single parents, their own challenges in order to keep it going, because there can be that illusion out there in cyberspace that everybody that is successful has it easy. You don't see the behind the scenes. So I want people that aspire to being entrepreneurs themselves to realize, no, getting your butt kicked is part of the journey. It's not an indication that you blew it, that you're incompetent, that you're not cut out for this. It can be part of what grows you to be the leader you're meant to be. And the more stories that I can put out there like that, the more the listener realizes that, man, I'm not alone in this. This can be done. And it can be done by people that are going through stuff harder than I'm going through. So what the heck am I doing sitting on my duff? I need to take action and make this happen already.
This, I like it. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh,
Happens to me all the time. Don't sweat it.
Yeah. No, you know what it is? It's just like I just have like a couple of basic questions that I usually use, and just listening to your thoughts and hearing you talk, I just want to keep the conversation going because it's just that good, man. And you got so much wisdom and stuff to share. But it's pretty much brings us to the wrap up. And I want people to connect with you. I want people to go to your website. I want people to check out your blab, your coaching services. I want them to read your books, and I want you to tell them how can they do all of this.
Well, man, who am I to stand in their way? The best place to go is right to my website, which is brianraymondking.com. You'll find previous podcast episodes. You'll find my blog posts. There's a link to where you can get my books on Amazon. There's a way to contact me directly with questions that you have. You can even set up a 30-minute free consult so that we can get to know each other a little bit and see if there's anything that I can do to support you in reaching your goals.
Oh man, that's tremendous. If anybody's listening out there, take advantage to this. I had the pleasure of speaking with Brian a few months back, just on a whim. We jumped on a phone call for, maybe 10 minutes, and just in that 10 minutes of time and just talking to this guy, you can just feel the energy and the love and the passion. And I can only imagine how he would translate that to you and your business and whatever your goals are. So do yourself a favor, go to, one more time with the website,
brianraymondking.com.
Go to brianraymondking.com, look this guy up, and take a next step in your journey into knowing me, myself, and I. Brian, thanks so much for coming on the show today. Really, it was a pleasure speaking to you as always, and best of luck with everything.
The pleasure is mine. I really appreciate it.
Whether you're listening on Spreaker, iTunes, or Stitcher, your input and feedback and rating the show would be greatly appreciated. If you have any other things you want to discuss, comments, questions, concerns, please email me at ahayes@memyselfandiradio.com. Thanks a lot. As always, at the end of every show, we'd like to urge you, no matter what the rest of your day brings, control the controllable. As for the rest, keep on flowing and just be. This has been Me, Myself, and I. Thanks for tuning in.
Tell me what to do.